if you go and look at every individual flag that you've collected from a certain person, you could potentially like build a quilt out of it, and then all of a sudden you're like, well,
build a
that's
quilt.
like,
You could tent a house from it.
right?
Hello, 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 and welcome to Well Shit. It really is that simple. I'm Claire.
And I'm Serena. On this podcast, we help you to understand about your 12 universal needs, why they are currently not being well met,
How to meet them in ways that work for you, and how to consistently do so in quick, easy, and simple ways that fit seamlessly into your life.
We'll also help you to understand how doing so will have a positive ripple effect in literally every area of your life.
If you like what you hear, sign up for more support with meeting your needs with your weekly Universal Needs notes at theuniversalneeds.com.
And enjoy the show.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hey, everyone.
So there's still some construction work going on where I'm living currently. So if you see my eye line wander for a second, it's because there are workmen. They keep like walking back and forth in front of me. And it's really hard, especially as somebody who's a little neurospicy, to just focus on the screen in front of me. And I'm like, don't look, don't look, don't look. Oh, no, there they go. Bye.
Oh, and now I've made eye contact and we're having an entire
Right.
mental conversation. Great.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, especially because like this doesn't look like, I mean, it's not like somebody's normal living room. Like I'm set up for a podcast episode and I have a massive boom and mic in front of me. I've got 2 ring lights. People, there was like one guy walked up and he's like, I'm trying to continue like just recording away as usual, like da 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 da. So yeah, so
And
if
at
you
the
see
same
my
time,
eyeline
like, stop looking at me.
right. I'm like, this is my home. Please stop looking at me while I'm in my home, minding my own business, not affecting you in any way, shape, or form. So, yes. Anywho, today we are, I think, going to be doing the final episode of our little Second Chances series. I mean, who knows?
We'll see.
There could be more. You never know, especially with us. This was the episode we planned to record last time. And actually, I'm really glad that we recorded the one that we did, because I think there was some really important things in there, like about the apology blueprint and about how to connect with the apology blueprint that were really important that we hadn't, because the apology blueprint episode was already longer than we had anticipated it to be. So I'm really glad that we managed to cover all of those things. So now we're kind of coming back full circle on as to what really started this entire series to begin with, which was this question about second chances. And while part of the question being asked was about like, why do some people get second chances and why do some people not? I think also the kind of flip side of that is, when should you give second chances and when should you not, more importantly? And unsurprisingly, there's a bit of nuance to this. She says, grabbing Nuno, our little nuanced narwhal. Like this episode could go in so many different directions and probably will, knowing us.
There are very little notes, so most definitely.
I think that the most important sort of starting place for offering a second chance, well, the first and most important thing is it possible to heal from the negative impact that has been done to you? That's the first thing. Is if the infraction was so severe that there's no way you're going to be able to heal the trust between you and this other person, then it's unlikely that a second chance is actually going to be effective. Because while you might want there to be the opportunity for that, if that's not really feasible, then offering a second chance is going to create a lot of anxiety with it, because I think that obviously we talked about this in the relationship orbits episode. When somebody negatively impacts you so severely, the trust is damaged so severely, they may go from being kind of close by in your orbits to going way out there, out into space. Technically they're orbiting you, but so far it's like, are you even there? Oh, yeah, there you are. Okay, bye. I'll see you in another 3,000 years or whatever it is that their orbit brings them back around again. A lot of the time, as we talked about in the episode, sometimes we because of our own unmet needs, we try and pull people closer than they want to be. And I think that sometimes is what happens with second chances, is we want to give them a second chance. But the truth is that the infraction was so bad that second chance is basically saying, I'm going to bring you closer when you've not really done what is necessary to warrant being closer. And I think that it's okay that there are sometimes some things that are done that are so severe, that impact you so badly and compromise your needs so badly. It's okay to say, you know what? I'm not going to give a second chance. That is a perfectly okay response. And I think that it's interesting because I'm thinking of a lot of videos of people saying, "Oh, people." I was watching a really trashy reality TV show yesterday. So trashy, I actually turned it off.
Like, you watched a trashy reality show? I'm shocked, Claire.
Like, the shock is the fact that I turned it off because it was so trashy. Even I was like, I can't do this right now. Like, I don't even know if I'm going to go back to it. Yeah, that's how bad it was. And I'm not going to say what it is in case people.
I was going to say, I'm
like,
so super curious to know what like that's your jam usually.
Yes, yeah. No, this was like, and there was a conversation that was happening between a mother and daughter, and about the daughter and her, I think, ex-fiance. I don't know if they were actually married. They might have been married. Like, I'm not following it closely, obviously. And what the husband or ex-husband or ex-fiance had done was really severe. And there was this kind of pressure on her that she should give grace and that she should like put the effort in. And it's like, and one of the things that the mother said was like, "Oh, your generation, you're just too quick to throw things away." And I'm like, and I'm not saying that that's not true. I'm like, there are some times where there can be something relatively minor that is done, and at which point, and someone's like, "No, that's it, I'm moving on." And I think sometimes in this kind of instant gratification culture that we're in, sometimes that can be, especially like if you think about like dating apps, where it's like quick swipe. Oh, look, there's 3 million other people on here I could date, so off you go, kind of thing. You wore the wrong color shoes, big on with you, kind of thing. And it's like that. I'm not saying is one of those infractions, but I do think it is also appropriate to say that there are things that are that cross a line to such a severe level that it is okay to say, actually, I'm not going to give you a second chance. It doesn't feel safe for me to give you a second chance. The risk is not worth the reward. And that's kind of what we talked about in the why some people get second chances and why some people don't get second chances episode. So I think that's the most important thing to start off with, is like, it's okay to say no second chance.
And it's okay if the other person doesn't understand. Like, if it doesn't feel right to you, it's somebody who has, forced some orbits back. Like, if it does not feel right, chances are it's going to happen again. It may be like, it's going to be landing on an already open wound. Like, you really have to trust whether or not you feel like this is the right thing for you to do. Because there's been a lot of times since coming to this body of work and the apology blueprint that I'm like, the words are, I feel like I should do this.
I knew exactly what was about to come out of your mouth.
It's not, I feel like this is the worst idea I'm ever about to make, but my brain and my conditioning and all of these other influences and the people who don't have to live my life and live in my being and deal with the impact of this person have their opinions. And I'm thinking that this is the right thing to do when deep down. And like, I've had to separate from some relationships I never thought would be possible to separate from, that I still have deep love for these people, but I'm like, for us both,
right?
I can't it's just not going to be good, because there hasn't been that healing, and I don't foresee it happen. There's always possibility, but like, I have to protect myself, like,
right. And what Serena means when she says for us both is like, if it doesn't work for both people, it doesn't work for either person. So if it doesn't feel right to one person, it's not actually going to create a good, solid relationship on either end. And I think that it's the interesting thing is like, there are moments and there are things where I'm like, your brain's like, but this and this and this and this. And your entire system's like, no, doesn't, don't. don't like it, don't want it, doesn't feel good. And we allow our brains to talk ourselves out of our being's signals. And the truth of the matter is, chances are what we are feeling a lot of the time is actually more reliable than what we're thinking. Because our brains can convince us of all kinds of things to try to meet or support our needs or protect our unmet needs that aren't actually true, which is how we end up sometimes in the situations that we do.
I don't have notes for this show. I'm trying to get the ADHD out of my brain for the next episode.
Awesome. I'm glad we have a next episode. Like I don't even know what that is yet. So maybe this isn't the last episode in this series after all. Anyway, so the interesting thing about this is that, so it's okay to say no second chances. One of the biggest indicators as to whether a second chance is appropriate, as long as it is also in alignment with what your gut is telling you. Now, as I said, make sure that we're listening to our gut first and foremost, because chances are our gut is going to probably steer us right. And there's a difference between our guts and our fear. So a lot of the time our fear it kind of feels very anxious in our body. Our nervous system is activated while we're thinking about it. Our gut tends to feel more calm and grounded. It feels more settled in our body. Even if everything else around us, like if it feels, okay, no, this is what it feels like, and it feels quite settled, that normally is our gut or our intuition talking to us. So as long as our gut is not going, danger, danger, run away, then one of the indicators that is it might be worth offering a second chance is go back and listen to the Apology Blueprint episode. Go through and check out, have all of the steps been covered in some way, shape or form? As I said, not everybody is going to have heard our Apology Blueprint. It's not going to be like, oh, hold on, they didn't do step number 6, or they did step number 6 before they did step number 5. Oh my God, this is just not acceptable. That's not what we're talking about here. Is that you want to go through and make sure each of the touch points have been touched on and that they've all been adequately addressed. So for example, if you have somebody who has addressed the thing that they have done, but they haven't acknowledged what they've done and the impact it had, somebody's not going to feel right about it, because like, yeah, technically they've done the thing that they were supposed to do, but they've not acknowledged that they haven't done that, and that them not doing it has had an impact. They're skipping steps.
And that is super common, like especially with that step. That's one of the ones that gets, because it's people having to deal with what they've done and confront themselves on it. Like that one gets skipped a lot. And like I've seen it packaged beautifully, but that is a hollow package without that.
Yeah, absolutely. So if they've acknowledged what they've done and they've addressed what they've done, but they haven't made amends for the impact of the fact that it happened, there's going to be some unresolved pieces. And unresolved pieces, if there is a lack of emotional resolution, i.e., if there are emotions that still haven't been healed, that haven't been addressed, that haven't been tended to, and haven't got to the point where emotional resolution basically is where things have gone from feeling off or uncomfortable in some way, and now they've come back and they're now feeling at least neutral. They may feel good, but at least neutral is where you get that emotional resolution, where it's gone from, okay, it was feeling this kind of way, and now it's not really feeling any kind of way. And ideally it's feeling better. But at the very, very least, we want to get to an emotional neutrality around this situation. We know we're not going to just get to the point where we're like, well, I don't feel anything. That's called numbing. That's avoiding our unmet needs. That's not what we're talking about here. But when it comes to this particular situation, if you get to the point where you're like, okay, I'm not really feeling a whole heap around it, that tends to be emotional resolution, as long as we're not avoiding our emotions. So it's important to kind of go through. If, for example, they have acknowledged what they've done, they've addressed what they've done, they've made amends, but they haven't communicated at all about how they are going to avoid repeating doing this in the future, chances are there's not going to be emotional resolution, because you're going to have an anxiety there, that fear that's like, I'm afraid this is going to happen again. And they've done nothing to reassure me that that won't happen. If they've done all of that and then they've ghosted, so they've not made that consistent effort to rebuilding trust, then chances are this is not an effective apology. And as I said, you don't have to go through all of these and be like, did they do every single one in the correct order? Or did they, this was the Essential 8. They've done the Essential 8. Oh no, they haven't done the Essential 8. This required all 11 plus the bonus one as well. And you've gone through them all. And as I said, not everybody knows this process, but these are all the important pieces. Now, it is important to say that there aren't many people who know about this. These are things that Serena and I have kind of learned to do intuitively, but I hadn't even written them down until a week and a half ago. So it's not like I could have sat down and written down this list for you 3 weeks ago and said, here are the steps that you need to do to an apology. So it's okay that not everybody knows this. If you know what is missing from an apology and you go to the person. So first thing is, if they've done all of the steps and your intuition is, your gut is kind of feeling, okay, this feels like it could be a possibility, that might be a good opportunity for a second chance. If they've done like most of it, and what I mean by most of it is you can see there is genuine effort, genuine care, and genuine desire to apologize effectively, to heal the situation. If they've gone through and gone, okay, I've stopped what I've done. Okay, I've adjusted I did this, and I can see that was the impact. Like if it's a superficial thing, that's not what we're talking about here. If you can see there is a genuine desire to apologize effectively, but there's a piece they didn't know is missing, you can go to them and you can say, hey, I really appreciate what you've done to apologize. There's something that I would really appreciate that feels missing for me on this, and it's this thing. If they respond in a way that is, thank you, I didn't realize that was missing, I really appreciate you telling me, and here I'm going to do it, then again, good candidate for a second chance. If they get defensive, if they start blaming you or saying that you're attacking them or that you're criticizing them or nothing I do is ever good enough, not a good candidate for a second chance. Because the truth of the matter is that they are obviously not far enough along their healing journey to be able to hear somebody else's pain and respond appropriately to it, especially pain that they have had a part in causing. If their response, it was interesting. I saw a TikTok this week where somebody was doing a video on like 3 things that all girls should do when they first start dating somebody. And actually, I think this is 3 things that everybody should do when they first start dating. And not as a form of a test, but just as a way of getting to know people, is that because inevitably someone's going to do something that's going to bother you at some point, is just to point out something that they've done that doesn't feel good to you and see how they respond to that. Because the chances of somebody being perfect from the get-go, trust me, as a girl who has dated a lot in her life, very unlikely. Much more likely it's going to be option number 2. If when you bring to them something that they have done that doesn't feel good to you, they want to know about it, they thank you, they act to do something about it, that is a green flag. That is something to be like, okay, this is somebody who I can talk to about things and they're going to hear me and listen, and we're going to try and figure it out together. And same thing when it works the other way around. Like if you're looking for this from somebody else, you need to be able to offer this to somebody else. And one of the most important things you can do to be able to do that is to support your own needs. Because if your needs are well supported, you can hear somebody else bringing something to you that you've done that has negatively impacted them without reacting defensively. If you reacting defensively, or you get upset, or you feel attacked or criticized or anything, chances are that's got nothing to do with what the other person's saying. It's about your unmet needs that are getting triggered in the moment. Your responsibility to tidy up and heal and clean up those triggers so that other people don't inadvertently stumble into them through no fault of their own, and you end up feeling some kind of way. I think that this is true of any good relationship. You don't really know how good the relationship is and how much you can trust the relationship until you bring an issue to that person and see how they respond to it. And the other person doesn't need to respond perfectly in the moment. It's how they deal with it overall. Like I had a situation a few weeks ago with a very, very good friend of mine, and I brought up some things that they were doing that I was not okay with, and their initial reaction was pretty defensive. And then they took some time to think about it, and they came back and said, I can see what you're saying. I appreciate you pointing that out to me. Thank you. I'm learning, and here's the things. And I'm like, okay, cool. This I can work with. Just defensive, bye-bye, you're in one of the outer orbits. Like, you've naturally slipped back to that place, and there's nothing I can do about it. It's your responsibility to build the trust to bring yourself closer. And then you've got some people like Serena and I, when the very first time I pointed something out to Serena that she'd done that was not okay with me, her first words were, I'm such an arsehole. Like, not how I would have phrased it. But that was her naming and owning, yeah, I did this thing and it was fucked up and that's not okay. And that was like, okay, cool. I can work with this. I don't think that you've actually used that phrase since that point in time, because I think I was like, oh, I wouldn't phrase it like that.
I mean, I think it trailed on a little. It trailed on a little bit after that, but yeah, I very rarely call myself an asshole anymore. Like, and when I do, it's not in the way that you think.
And there's a difference between I'm an asshole and I did that thing that was an asshole thing to do. Big difference between identity and behavior, like who I am versus the thing that I did. And that was, I think, one of the things that probably had you stop. Like, we had this conversation and you were like, oh yeah, that's a good point. Let's start doing it that way instead. So I think that the one of the things that's really critical to second chances is to ensure that the situations have been resolved. Now, again, it depends on the extent of the situation as to how much time, energy, and effort needs to go into this. Someone's just bumped into you, chances are you're not going to take a lot to give them a second chance. If they've accidentally bumped into you, oh, sorry, that's not going to require a lot of, have we gone through the full apology blueprint? Does this feel an alignment for me to give them a second chance? Chances are that's going to come pretty quickly. If there's been a more significant incident that has impacted you more seriously, at that point, you're going to want to make sure this has been gone through with more, in more depth and more completely, more thoroughly, because these are the things, as I said, I was going to say last episode, no, the episode before last, the apologies blueprint is the thing that it rebuilds trust when trust has been broken, if it is done effectively. And the thing that needs to be in place for you to provide a second chance is trust. And the more trust that you have, as in the more trust has been built, the more credit in the bank. We talked about this in the Relationship Orbits episode. The more trust that you have in the bank, the more credit you have in the bank. If there are moments where a couple of withdrawals get taken out and they don't immediately get put back in again, you're not like, that's it, account closed. Sorry, we're not doing this anymore. But if somebody, if for example, Serena and I had a situation where there was a significant thing between us and I'm debating, do I give her a second chance or not? Because there's so much trust that's been built up through the time that we've been together. There's a bit of credit in the bank there that okay, there's a bit of latitude. If Serena's got something going on personally, and it means that sometimes she doesn't operate in quite the way that she would do normally, or vice versa, both of us are willing to give grace in those moments, because it's like, okay, I trust this is not who you are and how you normally operate. If you're operating like that, it's probably because something is impacting you or something's going on in your life that is affecting the situation. I can give grace in those moments. The key thing is that we make sure that we are operating in alignment with the level of trust that we have. And just because it's been trust in the past, if you've had amazing trust with somebody and then they negatively impact and negatively impact and negatively impact and negatively impact and negatively impact, and there's no trust rebuilt, then you're going to very quickly get to a point where it's like, actually, we're beyond the point of no return, no second chance at this point, because the level of trust has been compromised to such a level where it's no longer, as I said, risk reward. Like, is the risk of giving a second chance worth the potential reward of what my experience of this friendship has been?
A lot of times, like, people are looking for second chances, not realizing that they're on their 256th chance. Like, you know, we look at second chances as the opportunity to be forgiven for the thing that's right in front of us, and so often forget to look at the bigger picture and be like, how many times, whether they be like slight things or if they're more significant things, like, how many chances have you really gotten? And we were talking about it in the initial episode about second chances, when, somebody's gone through something and they were for a period of time a different person, so to speak, or they weren't acting how they do now. And, there's been changes in their life. Like, you may have gone through all of your, however many second chances you've gotten, and you might be a different person, but those opportunities you were given back then, if they haven't been healed, like, you can't expect somebody to be like, oh, the past is the past, because when people do that, like, there really hasn't been healing. Like, you sometimes I feel like it, you kind of want that, we think we want that type of response, like, yep, the past is in the past, and it's like, no, the past needs to be like learned from, so that it doesn't also become the present and the future.
Right. Well, and it's a little bit like thinking about it, like the relationship bank account is a good metaphor for this, because as I said, like, in order for a relationship to really have any trust, there has to be some credit in the bank. Something has to have been put into that account. Now, it may be that only one thing has been put into that account. Like, we put fun times into the account, but we haven't put showing up and supporting when things are shitty, or like being there, being reliable, showing up when I say I'm going to show up. Like, I'm good with the fun stuff, but there's like lots of different things that can get put into an account. But something has to have been put in. And so you have an amount of normally credit in the bank account. And then what tends to happen is that a lot of the time we don't even realize that we're giving second chances. And the person getting the second chance definitely doesn't realize they're getting a second chance. Because normally what ends up happening is like a small thing happens and we don't clear the niggle. We don't address the thing, that small little niggly thing that doesn't feel quite right. We don't address it. But that is a withdrawal from the account. Something's come out of it. But because there's been something in the account, you go, well, that's okay. I can give a bit of grace on this. I can give a bit of like latitude on this. I'm like, okay, well, we can see. And that's the second chance. It's the second chance normally at this point. And then another thing's happened. So then you go, well, I can see they've got a lot going on in their life right now, and and so they give another chance and another chance and another chance and another chance. Now, what ends up happening is you end up getting zero balance in your account. But the other person doesn't actually realize that that's the case. As far as they're concerned, they've put this stuff into the account. They don't realize they've been withdrawing without realizing it. And then what ends up happening is another withdrawal ends up happening. Now you're in your overdraft. So it's like, and the person who's in the bank account with you, they can see the level going down. You might not be able to, like, it's like these people, sometimes they go and they spend and they spend and spend. They've never checked their bank account. And then the other person is like checking the account every day going, oh, you took another $5. Oh, okay, 25. Okay, I'm seeing this. Now they're starting to get resentful. And the resentment is building up because every withdrawal, it's like, you don't have the credit to take that out now. And that overdraft limit is like, that's the amount that you can take out before they're going to go, I'm sorry, that's it. Now you're going to get a penalty because you've gone over your overdraft. And this is what ends up happening is that they get to that overdraft limit. They don't even realize that they don't have credit in the account. And they go to take another withdrawal. And this person goes, you've got nothing in your account. You've hit your overdraft. You're over your overdraft. Now there's going to be a cost because you've tried to withdraw beyond your overdraft limit. And this person goes, wait, what? But can't you give me a second chance? And they've had 26 chances, but they haven't seen that those have been chances. And a lot of this is because of the communication, because we're not communicating. Hold on, this thing doesn't work for me. This is not okay. This is a problem, or this doesn't work for me in this way. And it is tough when you first start building relationships. Like, you don't go in on the first time of seeing somebody be like, actually, you know what, that's not okay with me. I mean, the relationships might actually be better if we learn to do that and actually have a conversation at that point. But a lot of the time, it takes some time. You want to build trust in the relationship because you want to see, is this someone I can trust to have this conversation with? And if I can't trust them to have this conversation with, they're never going to become part of my inner circle. They're way out in the outer orbits. They might be fun and I might see them every now and again. But in actual fact, they're not somebody that is part of my close group. Now, they may think they're part of your close group, but there is a difference, because can you have these conversations? Are you somebody that you can trust them to go, there's this thing, it's not a big deal, but it's a thing. And this is where a lot of issues happen in all kinds of relationships. I cannot tell you the number of times where I have, and a lot of the times in intimate relationships, it is being communicated, but the other person isn't taking it seriously. Like, you're like, actually, would you mind not doing that? They're not putting any gravity on that. They don't realize that them being given the opportunity to do it again is the second chance at that point, because it doesn't seem like a big deal. But when you have 1,000 things that don't each individually seem like a big deal, when you add them up, that becomes a massive deal. And then all of a sudden somebody ends the relationship and they go, well, it came out of nowhere. And it's like, no, they've been communicating this with you for a really long time. You just didn't put the level of importance on what they were saying to be able to integrate it, to do something about it, to put the effort into cultivating trust, to address those moments when they happen, to heal them by doing an effective apology around them, and to cultivating something that works for both people going forward.
There are a lot of red flags and warning signs that we need to look out for with this. Like, if you're, and I've been here many times, if you're open to giving a second chance and you're stepping into this space, there are some things you really should be aware of and looking for in how you're feeling, what the actions are, like what, like, has the apology blueprint actually been gone through? Like, and I think it's just really important. So often we see a red flag and we're like, all right, well, that's like a little flag there, just a little bitty flag, or
I like red. It's
maybe
a fun
like
color, like
we see them as individual flags. But if you go and look at every individual flag that you've collected from a certain person, you could potentially like build a quilt out of it, and then all of a sudden you're like, well,
build a quilt,
like,
you could tent a house from it.
Right? Like, and I think it's because we so often just kind of brush off these things and we're like, no, we gaslight ourselves. No, I'm not feeling, this is me. Like, it's not about what they apologized. Like, I need to get over my own shit. Like, if there's still shit there and they're the one that needed to apologize, then that's not just, usually that's not just your shit. There's still something there that needs to be dove into. But I can't tell you how many times I've seen, and Claire, and like, with each other, with different situations that were kind of witness to, and it's like, oh, that's gonna come back to bite you, like that. So I think it's very important for us to share some of those red flags and warning signs that you need to be aware of in the apology, and aware of if you're one giving the apology, so that you are not doing these things. Because there were things I did that I thought I was like, oh no, I'm doing this and this is what I should be doing and it's good and it's all these things. And then I look back and I'm like, oh, that had nothing to do with them, did it? It was all about me.
Well, we actually talked about one of the red flags we've talked about a couple of the red flags in previous episodes. So one of the red flags is self-flagellation, or like this, like, oh god, I feel so bad, oh my god, I'm so sorry, like that repeated apologizing, because that repeated apologizing is about them feeling some kind of way, and normally they're feeling shame, not guilt. Shame is not going to help bring your relationship closer together. It will move you further apart over time. So if somebody is like over apologizing, but doing it like, I mean, they're saying the word sorry a lot, because we know sorry is not an apology, as we've spoken about on multiple of these episodes now. So if they're just repeating the word sorry, or repeating an apology phrase, oh, I apologize, I'm so sorry for doing this, but they're not doing the things that go around the verbal apology to actually apologize, that's a red flag, because that is about how they're feeling, not about healing and addressing the issue and the impact it's had to you. Another one that we've talked about on previous episodes is where they get so deep into their own shame spiral that they are so focused on themselves that your wants, your needs, your feelings, and the fact that you have been impacted cease to be a relevant part of the conversation. Like, they cease to exist as far as that other person is concerned. They're so mired in their own feelings and so self-obsessed with their own feelings that they have disconnected from you and the impact they've had on you entirely. Those sorts of things, again, it can look on the surface like, oh my god, they feel terrible about what they've done, and it's like, you can feel terrible about what you've done and do something to make it right and do something to improve it and heal it and make it better. Or you can feel terrible about what you've done and become so self-obsessed around it that in fact you do further harm to the other person, because they have to then deal with your self-obsession about how you're feeling versus actually get any support from you in the fact that you've impacted them.
It's amazing how an apology can really spin and do further impact. Like,
it's amazing what, sorry?
How an apology can, like, if it's not handled correctly, can actually spin and cause further impact, because like
an apology, we're going to make like in big inverted quotes, because that's not an apology. I mean, I kind of would like to start a movement where people start saying sorry, and like people just are prompted to say, that's not an apology. Like, that's not an apology. No, that's not an apology either. Try again. That's not an apology. And I know that's not probably the most constructive way to handle it, but just naming like the amount of so-called apologies that are not apologies. Like, think about, I mean, I know we talked about this on the last episode. Think about the number of influencer or celebrity apologies that happen that follow a certain format, and it's all to avoid accountability. It's all to avoid, like, I don't want to be cancelled, so I've got to apologize now because otherwise something's going to happen. And like, what's really like, what's very interesting is when you have like a company, for example, that does something crappy and people are like, okay, well, we're not going to support them anymore. And then they double down, and then they start to feel the impact of the people not supporting them anymore and go, oh, maybe we're sorry now. And it's like, no, that's not an apology. You don't get to apologize as a way. I was listening to one of the YouTubers that I follow. It's called Charlotte Dobray. She does like reaction videos to like other people's stories. And it's one of those things I kind of, if I'm busy doing like washing up or something or doing the dishes, like I tend to sometimes have her on in the background. And there was a video of hers I was listening to the other day, and it was about a girl who had been bullied by a couple of girls at school. And she found out that they had gone on to, one had got a qualification in veterinary sciences. The other one had got mental health counselor qualifications. And she was like, this is not okay. Like, these are not people who should be acting in these kind of caring careers. And so she put a post up on Facebook to say, this is what my experience was. This is what happened. Tag them in it. And one of them came and apologized to her after the fact. And she was, and had asked her to like take a name out of it or take it down or something. And then the following day she got contacted by a company where it was their HR department, and said, can I take screenshots and can I keep them on file? Because, and that was the reason that she wanted it taken down. That's the reason she apologized. The apology was to try and ingratiate this person, to get her to try and take down the post that was going to harm her career. That's not an apology. That's a manipulation. Same thing where she was saying that she'd had same thing. Someone had bullied her, apologized to her, and then asked for her to take down a incriminating photo of her. And it's like, that's not an apology. It's a manipulation. So anything where you can see that the apology or the behavior is focused on them, their needs, their wants, their desires, their well-being, not on you as the person who's been harmed, massive red flag when it comes to second chances, third chances, 56 chances.
You know what else isn't an apology? A gift.
What?
Gifts are not apologies. They could be potentially part of an apology.
At the right point in the apology.
Yes. And in the right, I don't want to say amount, but in alignment with what the situation was. Like, yeah,
proportional to what the issue was.
That's what I was trying to say, proportionally. Gifts come in a lot of ways when it comes to apology. And a lot of times it is a manipulation. Like, people do these grand gestures, or they buy these gifts as a way of buying absolution. Like, now this person has to forgive me. Oh, well, yeah. I bought you what I've seen some ridiculous gifts that have nothing to do with anything except there's no way they can be mad at me after I've given them this. Like, this is one of those areas, if you're handed a gift in the process of an apology, just be like, like, take a step back and be like, is this is this appropriate? Is it proportionate? Is like, does this feel like this is about, like, I can't even think, like, the situations I'm thinking of, like, I can't even think of where it, like, it's unfortunately usually erring on the red flag side.
Yeah, I would say I think that the appropriate space for gifts is, and when we're talking about gifts, this is not like replacing something you damaged. Like that might be a part of addressing the situation. We're talking about something that is not related to the initial thing that happened. I would say the only really place in an apology, an effective apology where gifts are appropriate, are either in applying consistent effort to rebuilding trust. And again, that's proportional. And the trust is built with the gift. A lot of time, it's not about having a big gift. It's about having something that shows that you understand the other person, the things that will mean a lot to them. Like that's where you cultivate the trust. The gift is not the thing that cultivates the trust. It's understanding, here's the thing that allows somebody to feel closer, to feel value, to feel important, to feel like you're listening to them, to feel like you understand them, and to build some trust with you. So it's in that place, and they go above and beyond. If you're putting gifts in any other area, I would say it's probably not appropriate. It's probably a red flag, because we have learned in our society to try and buy various things, like to buy a feeling of being enough, to try and buy a feeling of being sexy, to try and buy a feeling of it being attractive, to buy a feeling of, as I said, as Serena was saying, absolution. And that tends to be a shortcut that is ineffective. And it tends to stop us from thinking about what we've done and going through the process and doing it effectively. This reminds me of, there's an episode in Grace and Frankie. Like if you haven't seen it, go and watch it. It's fabulous. But if you haven't seen it, there's an episode in which they're kind of getting their things from the ex's houses.
No,
and you know where I'm going. Yeah,
you are in there. I was going to say the exact same example, the exact same one. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Go ahead.
So the two of the main characters, they had gotten a divorce, and it's when they were cleaning out the house and they found the watch, right?
No, not the watch. No, the box with all the jewelry in it.
The box with the jewelry. That's what it was.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So this man had a box of pre-purchased gifts that he knew his wife would like. So whenever he did something wrong, he had the gift at the ready. And these were things like they were nice, expensive gifts. They probably are something she would have wanted and liked, and that's why he bought them. But it had nothing to do with the fact he was sorry. It was it was that scene. I was like, oh, and this is probably true. There are people who do this. Like,
yeah.
Ew. And flowers every time somebody's sorry. Like, oh, they bought me flowers. Like,
yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say. So and the interesting thing with the Grace and Frankie example was all of the boxes had things written on them. It was like, happy anniversary, I'm sorry, like thinking of you, like, and it's like, no, this wasn't like I had this thought of you, or I was feeling this way about something I'd done, and here's the thing I've done in the context of that feeling to try to build closeness with you again. This is, I mean, she describes it like they're treats for a dog. Like it's a way of shutting her up. It's a way of like keeping her, placated in the context of anything that he might do. And the other example I was going to give was like, there's a lot of this conditioning we have in our society that, especially in heterosexual relationships, and especially with respect to the man towards the woman, where it's like, oh, if like a guy's buying flowers, oh, what did you do wrong, kind of thing. Or it's like, if you've done something wrong, that like if you see it on TV, on films, where it's like, oh, they go and buy flowers as an apology. And it's like, if you're not buying flowers for somebody because they like flowers, doing it in the context of an apology means that you're trying to buy their forgiveness by doing something you think they're going to like. If you think they're going to like it and you're not doing it any other time, there's a problem there. Like that is, I'm trying to manipulate you into making everything okay, like into forgiving me for what I've done. And so that's the reason that gifts are a real, that they can be a real source of they a lot of the time they muddy the water because of the value that people put on things. And I remember once I was I did a at-home relationship retreat. Kind of feel a little bit sick thinking back on it because of the person I did it with, and it was not done authentically or well. And it was a way of building intimacy between. And there was a book that you kind of went through, and it kind of designed this retreat because we needed it. We were beyond the retreat helping, but we didn't know that at the time, or I didn't know that at the time. I was trying all the things to try and build closeness and connection. And at the end of it, you had to give each other a gift, and the gift had to be. Couldn't be something you purchased. It had to be something that you made, i.e. that you literally physically made it. It could be a poem. It could have been something you were going to do for the other person. Like it was, there had to be more that went into it rather than just finances, because it's easy to buy something. But when you take away the ability to buy something, that means that more thought and effort needs to be put into it. And that's what makes the difference. And here's the clue that I was not in a good relationship at that point in time, was that he promised me daily massages for a week. That was his gift to me, and I got one in the following years that we were together. That there you go, indicator. Moving swiftly on from that. Anyway. Lots I could say about that, but I'm not going to at this moment in time. But I think that's the thing, is that so when we take the financial element out of it, it means we have to get more creative. We have to put more thought in and more effort in, and thought and effort are the things that cultivate trust. And so we don't want the finances to overshadow or eradicate the need for those things, because those are the things that are really important.
And in that, you also want to be aware of another red flag that could pop up, which is love bombing. Love bombing, like, doesn't necessarily have to be a gift. Like a lot of times people think of that as
I would say, and interestingly enough, what a lot of people would call love bombing, we actually within our content we call it needs bombing. And so what love bombing is basically showering love and affection onto somebody in like large quantities. And a lot of that is about compliments. It's about time. It's about things that you say to them. It's about things you do. It's about professing love. It's about you're so amazing. Da, 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 da. What you're actually doing is you are trying in that when people are doing that, whether consciously or unconsciously, what they are doing is they are trying to meet the needs of the other person, to make that person dependent on them to get their needs met, or to create this false feeling of trust or closeness or connection, because it's like, oh, I feel great around this person. That's because they basically just plugged your needs into the mains. Now, the interesting thing is, yes and no, as far as that plugging your needs into the mains, because if you are dependent on somebody else to get your needs met, there is always going to be an underlying anxiety around it, because you then become dependent on that person. And there's that fear of what happens if something happens between us or this person disappears. And then we end up grabbing onto that person, which is why it is such a toxic behavior. And it's why it's one of the early stages of a lot of abusive relationships. Is what happens is that there's this like, and gifts can be a part of that, but the dependency on from a financial or gift perspective is far less dangerous than the dependency from an emotional or mental perspective. If you get to the point where this person comes along and they become your everything, because they're the ones that meet your feeling, they make you feel safe, they make you feel loved, they make you feel important and valued, they make you feel good about yourself, they make you feel like, the second that all of those needs start to be attached to that one person, they have a lot of control over you. And that's the reason it's a lot of the time it's the early stages of abusive dynamics, because it's a way of getting control over somebody so that they can then start to erode other areas of their life and have control over their situation. So if you start to feel like somebody is disproportionately or exaggeratedly trying to like shower you with affection or like they're trying to meet all of your needs so that you become dependent on them, run for the hills. Like like it is like a get the hell out of Dodge, because that is such a, and if you pull back and they become even more intense, that is definitely huge warning signs. Like if it's like, oh, we need to slow things down a little bit, and that's when it gets more intense, that is a really big red sign. Red flag. Warning sign.
Red flag.
Red sign.
Whatever. Just take it as a sign.
Yeah.
Fuck, the sign took my thought away. A lot of times the love bombing, a lot of times the love bombing is an unconscious thing that people get conditioned into thinking this is how you deal with shit. And like I've met some people who don't even realize they're love bombing. And like Claire said, if you're like, oh wait, this is a little too much, and they're like, oh, I'm sorry, like, yeah, that was intense, or they take the step back and they respect that space, like come into it with, you know, that kind of empathy and that knowing, like they might not know what they're doing, they've just learned this as a strategy that I mean, it oftentimes works, they just don't realize it's like it's affecting them deeply and impacting their needs negatively. It's impacting the needs of the other person, and it is certainly uprooting the needs of the relationship that they're trying to love bomb.
Right. And well, I mean, there was something in what you said that I think is really telling, where they were like, this usually works. Works in what way? What do you mean works? Like, because a lot of the time what that is it's luring somebody in and getting them connected to them really quickly, rather than genuinely and over a period of time cultivating a connection closest that happens gradually, that feels like okay, I'm like, we're building trust because we're operating in a way which is starting to cultivate trust. And the more trust, the deeper the sometimes feelings go, and the more the vulnerability opens up, and when that vulnerability opens and it's met, that creates a more connection and more trust. Like when something happens, it builds in like a sustainable way. Like it's the thing that that makes me think about this is like, if you were to like, it's the difference between having a high, like a feeling of euphoria because you are feeling good in yourself because you've taken the time to like take care of your needs like gradually, and you've built on that, and now you're feeling like you're hydrated and you've got good nutrition and you've been like moving your body in great ways, and then you've also on top of that you've done things to make yourself feel more secure, and then you've over time you've built your value need, and you've done all like these things to like slowly cultivate your needs over time, that naturally gets you to this feeling of like, this feels amazing, versus having a drug that makes you feel instantly amazing while not being based in anything other than dependency on that drug. And it might feel euphoric for a period of time, but man, is there a come down afterwards. And then you end up needing to do more to get that same kind of high. So it's like, it reminds me of that kind of thing where it's like, if you're kind of slowly, there's a difference between feeling that natural euphoria because you feel really good in your body, in your like mentally and physically and emotionally and within your life and your lifestyle, versus that quick hit that it might feel great for a few hours, but after that, oh my God, are you going to feel crappy? And then you have to go through that cycle again.
And there's definitely a difference between like thinking back, like I used to be a love bomber. Like I didn't realize what I was doing, but when I fucked up, I'm like, oh, all the things, like let me make this better, without making it better at all, making it worse. But that's what these past few episodes have been about. Now I feel like I'm a love sprinkler. Like I spread sprinkles when I am resourced, when I have them to share, but I do it constantly. It's not because of tit for tat. It's not because I've done something wrong. It's just I sprinkle. Sometimes people get a little bit of a shower of sprinkles because my needs are that well met that I'm like, I've got sprinkles and I want to share. And then there are other times that we don't see sprinkles for like a hot minute. So I just like, I don't want to say this and have people be like, you're love bombing me. Like, this isn't like, it kind of like anything else. If somebody's doing something only because they fucked up, they're probably doing it as a form of conscious or unconscious manipulation. Other people can
Mm-hmm.
integrate this into their being, but you know, you can feel it. And kind of going back to Claire's example with the empathy technique that her ex used to use, that was manipulation. Like, if you're feeling something's off, that's a red flag that something is off for whatever reason, that something's off. An apology, you need to feel it. Like, it needs, I think if you don't feel it, it's never going to be, like, there's something missing if you're not feeling that genuine, like, okay, this feels like they are truly sorry. Or on the flip side, like, if you feel like something, I still, like, they've gone through all the steps, but something still feels like
funky,
off, it's off. Like, for whatever reason, it's off.
Yeah. And I think that that's the thing, is that we want things to be good. We don't want things to be uncomfortable. And there's, like, sometimes the apology blueprint, as you're going through it, it's not necessarily comfortable as you're going through it. The point is not to be comfortable while you're doing it. The point is to feel good, or at least feel neutral about it on the other side of it. And that's the thing, is it gets uncomfortable. People are like, oh, it's uncomfortable, I don't like this, run away. Like, and it's like, you're only on step 3, come on, like hello, you got a few to go still. And it's like doing exercise. Like, exercise doesn't always feel fun or enjoyable or comfortable while you're doing it. If you're building muscle, like, that is something that it's going to feel painful as you're doing it. I went to see my body worker yesterday. Believe me, not a comfortable process. In fact, lots of expletives were shouted. Luckily, it was a late appointment. I think everybody else in the place had gone by this point, but there were a lot of expletives shouted at various points in the process. And today, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling kind of achy. But that's because I want what's on the other side. We're releasing the muscles. We're working them. We're stretching them. We're manipulating them and palpating them and doing all of those things to have the muscles release in a way that they won't do without it. Now, is the process fun or enjoyable? I mean, massage might be a difficult one, because for most people, massage is a nice, zen, relaxing process. Not that the massage therapist that we see. No, this is, and hands down the best body worker I have seen anywhere in the world, because they're not focused on making the experience enjoyable in the moment you're having it. They're focused on getting to the root of the issue and addressing the root of the issue. And it's like, yesterday, I have problems with my hips. My hips were locked up and jammed up constantly, and he would have to work and manipulate and do all the things and everything, and then he would pull my hips and say, okay, it's releasing now. Yesterday was the first day in forever both hips moved without him doing any work to the hips beforehand that session. That process has been painful, but the point is to get to the point where they've released and they stay released, not for it to be fun and enjoyable through the process. If you're building muscle because you want to build strength in your body, it's going to be painful at various points. I mean, appropriate pain, and obviously it needs to be within a certain window of tolerance, but it's going to be painful at times, and you're going to feel it for a couple of days afterwards. But how many times have you had, like, done a workout or something, you're like, I feel it, but it's like good pain, because I feel like I've worked my body, like I've done the thing I was supposed to be doing, because I want the thing that's on the other side of it. And it doesn't always have to be this way. And just because something is uncomfortable while you are doing it doesn't mean to say that it is a bad thing. It can, that it could be a warning sign that this is not for you. Absolutely. And it may be, here's the thing. It could be that you're partway through an apology process and you're like, you know what? I don't actually think that I've got anything to, I'm apologizing to try to save the relationship. I'm trying to apologize to placate the other person, to make them feel better. And as you're going through it, it doesn't feel good in your body. And it's like, it feels uncomfortable, not because you're going through and processing the impact you've had to another person, but actually you feel uncomfortable because you're feeling out of alignment. Like, you're apologizing when there's nothing, you've not done anything wrong. It's their unmet needs, it's their triggers, it's whatever it is that's caused the issue here. That is a level of, so this is why it's so important to have discernment around this and understand the nuance, that there are going to be moments where discomfort is like, okay, this is part of this process. And there are going to be times when that discomfort is like, no, this is not right for you. So it's about checking into that feeling and feeling like, is this a feeling of discomfort because this feels out of alignment, or this doesn't feel right for me, or this is uncomfortable because I'm facing the parts of myself that I need to face in order to heal, in order to have a better relationship with this person and with other people. Big difference.
And I know most of this has been about like whether or not to give second chances to somebody if, you know, they're apologizing to you. There's also the flip side. If you've gone through the steps and somebody has chosen not to give you a second chance, like looking into that and being like, maybe this relationship, if it's not working for them, it's not going to work for you, vice versa. Like there's so many times that we're like, whether it's because of the history we have with somebody, or if it's a familial relationship, all those things. And we're like, I want this has to be like, we have so many other reasons. And there have been quite a few situations where I've tried to force it. And then I step back. I'm like, actually, I don't think I was meant to get a second chance, because I don't think it was right for us to be in relationship. And this is kind of what had to happen. So like, I know it can be hard if we're not getting the second chance that we believe we deserve, we want, or, you know, for whatever reason. And if somebody's not giving you a second chance, there's probably a reason why, like, that relationship isn't, I mean, meant to be, I guess would be like, I don't know. My words feel a little clunky on that. Yeah. And in the end, if you force it, it's just going to make, like, it's not going to be a relationship that, the relationship that you want, whatever is in your mind, it's probably not going to be that. And
and if you force it, then chances are you're just going to create a lot of pain and discomfort for yourself, the other person, both of you. I mean, there are so many moments I can look back on certain relationships where I'm like, boy, I wish I'd got out of that sooner. Like, I wish I'd called it much sooner. And I didn't for whatever reason. And there are some where I'm like, no, I'm glad I did the thing that I did. I'm glad I gave the second chances, because I know without a shadow of a doubt, this is not right for me. Because the second chance, third chance, 56th chance blew up in my face. And I'm like, okay, maybe we need to learn from this a little sooner. Like when these things happen, if somebody is not putting the work in to actually heal the damage that has been done, then the chances are over time it's going to erode. It's going to fracture. It's not going to be sustainable over a long period of time. And it's interesting because I'm at that point in my life now where I'm probably ready to start dating of sorts sometime soon. Like, I'm not looking for anything, but just to start kind of going out and interacting with people again. I have a very different I'm going to have a very different approach to dating this time. I mean, also because I'm not really looking for anything, so it's like I'm not like I really want a relationship right now. If that happens at some point, we'll see what happens. If it feels right for me, great. But I actually think that being where I'm at, I'm like, oh, no. If you're not somebody who, if there's an issue and you don't lean in and you don't want to put the effort into making things right, wish you well on your way. Because it's not going to work long term. Yeah, exactly. Too many times. I have an entire fucking closet full of t-shirts that I own from said experiences. I don't need any more. They're taking up space. I would prefer to put my glittery tops in there instead. So it's like, and I think that's the thing is that when you go through this process and once your needs are well met, because I don't need anybody else to meet my needs now. So I'm not looking for the relationships to meet my needs, and therefore I'm not dependent on them to meet my needs, which means that if you're not showing up in a way, I mean, I basically have reached a point in my life where it's like, if you're not bringing something, I have an amazing life. I have amazing friends. I work that I absolutely love. I live in paradise. I have fun and shenanigans on my doorstep anytime I want them. I'm right by the water. Like, I have a great life, which means that if you're not adding to my life, then why would I put energy into that? Because I have a lot of people around me who bring things to my life. And whether that is, I'm not saying that they are meeting my needs. What I'm saying is their existence, their presence in my life makes it more enjoyable than when they're not there. That is the baseline criteria to have a relationship with somebody. They've got to bring something to you, and vice versa. that you wouldn't have without the other person being there. And if that's not the case, and the things they're bringing to you is stress or frustration or compromised needs, chances are might be not be worth a second chance. Just saying. Anything you want to add?
Nope, I'm good.
No, I think we're done. That was I'm glad that I'm glad we had this episode, because it's really important to be able to understand why you may or may not have had a second chance, but my goodness, is it important to know when to give them and when not to. And the thing is said that makes it easier to do that, take care of your needs. It makes it way easier to make those decisions for yourself. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I don't know what we're going to be talking about next time. Apparently Serena does, so we'll find out about that next time altogether. We will be back next time. Between now and then, remember, stay safe, take care of yourself, and continue to meet your own needs. Lots of love. Bye.
Bye, friends.
That's it for today.
If you like what you heard
and would like to see some of Serena's awesome facial expressions,
check out the video podcast on YouTube.
And remember, in order to give a second chance, it needs to feel in alignment and for the apology to have been effective.
Well, shit. It really is that simple.